Hey everybody, welcome in to the Southern Beer Review. We're here today at Brock's Gap Brewing here in Hoover, Alabama on a beautiful February day, and just enjoying the weather, enjoying the good vibes here, and we're going to be trying a beer that William's going to tell you a little bit about.
Yeah, as we talked about right before we started this video, this is the closest to a neighborhood brewery that we have. We both live in Hoover. Hoover is a suburban community of Birmingham. Most of the breweries we've been to here in the Birmingham area have been downtown. This one is in the heart of Hoover. Hoover Metropolitan Stadium is a stone's throw away, where they have the SEC baseball tournament every year. But today we're going to try a beer called the Pandemic-Born English Porter. It checks in at 5.6 ABV, and this brewery was just getting started right around the time the pandemic was, or we were on the backside of it, right when we were starting to figure out how to deal with the pandemic, I guess.
Yeah.
So this is clearly one of those beers that was born out of that. And real quick, this will take about 30 seconds. I've talked to the owner here several times, and he's a super nice guy. And he basically said that during the pandemic, he and his son were playing ball over in the Hoover Met parking lot, and he said, I'm going to buy this land and open a brewery. Because the land here was for sale. The main highway's out here, brewery's behind us, and he did, opened it up, and it has become a great place for people in Hoover that want to come have craft beer.
It's a really beautiful location. And I'm excited. This is one of the beers that I've not had from here,
Yeah,
so I'm
same.
excited to try it. And I gave it a little whiff. It smells wonderful. It smells like straight vanilla.
Yeah,
which
vanilla,
is
a
one
little
my
bit of
favorite
coffee as well. I'm
flavors.
getting that the first whiff, I guess.
And I'm sorry I interrupted
No,
you.
no,
Were you
no.
done?
So once again, we're going to go ahead and try the Pandemic-Born English Porter, a good February beer most of the time when it's cold. It's not today, but let's give it a shot and see what
All
it
right.
has. Man, that screams maltiness. It screams vanilla. It's a little bit sweet. There's chocolate. There's pecans. There's everything that you would generally associate with a porter. And I kind of like the hint of sweetness.
I do too. It's just a hint, and it's got a nice bitterness at the end to balance it out. It's not a nitro beer, but it almost has a smoothness like
It
a
does.
nitro has, which I really appreciate actually. And the taste really follows the nose. I mean, it's got a little sweetness, vanilla sweetness, and it's very I don't want to say basic as in like an insult to it, but it does what it does, and it does it pretty well.
I've heard a lot of people say that they don't like porters because they sit too heavy, or they're heavy in content, or the way it goes down. So when the first sip I had of this, it was again extremely smooth, and not that. Listen, I love porters as a style, but this comes across almost like a
dark ale maybe.
Yeah, like an ale, like an English
Yeah.
dark, or something that you consider a little more like a cream ale kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. It does have a bit of creaminess about it, which I find very pleasant actually. I'm pleasantly surprised by this beer so far. I'm going to give it a few more sips, but
So we've been to Brock's Gap several times, and my favorite beer here up to this point was a like a vanilla stout kind of thing, and I think I like this just as much, if not better, than that one. Again, good for a cool winter day kind of thing, and that's why we chose the porter style. They have a lot of lagers on tap, IPAs, but we chose the porter because of the time of year we're doing this right now.
yeah. And I had also had quite a few of their lager. I think you had some of them too. So we would like to try to find something we haven't had before. But yeah, I'm very surprised and very pleased with this at 5.6. I mean, this is a beer you could drink a couple of or drink all day if this was the kind of beer you're in the mood for, and it's enjoyable.
And it's got a great malty color, dark beer, but you can see through the glass the brown tints.
It's got a
come through
red,
as well.
almost a reddish tint.
It does.
too.
It sure does. All right. Well, I can go with my score if you're ready. I mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
So again, Brock's Gap is brand new, and the first couple of times I came here, the beer was good, but I think they were still trying to feel their way and find their style, if you will. But I really like this beer. And again, I've never had it before. I had nothing to prejudge this on. It's not like I've had it a couple of times with anything in my head that I would come with as far as the score goes. But I really like this. I'm going to go an 8 on it. I really like it.
Yeah, I hear that, and I just echoing what you said about them being a new brewery. I sort of have a rule. I may have mentioned it before on this podcast or this video channel that I try not to judge a brewery by my first visit, especially if it's a new brewery. Try to give them a little bit of time, and they've had a little bit of time now, and I'm impressed by this. I'm going to give it a 7, which is very solid. I mean, again, I don't want to sound like an insult, but it's a very utilitarian type beer to me. It does what it's supposed to do.
Right.
It makes you want to drink it.
Right.
So I'm a fan of the pandemic-born porter.
Yeah. So 7.5, and the soundtrack today has been apparently the bartender's a big fan of 70s music. But again, if you're ever in Hoover, Alabama, the SEC baseball tournament is here. The Finley Center hosts a lot of weekend youth sporting events. When I say walking distance, I mean that's not being generous enough. Come out to Brock's Gap Brewery, talk to the guys in charge. They're super nice, and give it a chance because it's just not as well known as the Birmingham breweries. Good people trim tab the district, but they do make good beer, and the porter is particularly good.
And honestly, as I mentioned earlier, it's a beautiful place. I mean, there's lots of good outdoor space here, lots of good space indoors, and I think it needs a little bit more attention from the Hoover and community, and even beyond that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, guys, we appreciate you tuning in, and we'll be back with another podcast soon.
Yep.